Good evening. The March 31st meeting of the Evanston City Council will come to order. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin? Here. Councilmember Revelle? Here. Councilmember Reed? Is he here tonight? He's here. Oh. Councilmember Reed is here somewhere. Councilmember Heracariz?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly is not here tonight. Councilmember Harris?
Present.
Councilmember Nguyen? Councilmember Newsma?
Here.
And Councilmember Burns? Here. Mayor Biss?
Here. We have a quorum present and are prepared to do our work for the evening. The first item on our agenda is my public announcements and proclamations, of which there are two. But before I get to them, just want to make an observation that we expect this to be the last city council meeting to occur at 2100 Ridge. So that's a significant change on the way, and in a way, a historic evening here tonight. So thank all of you for being with us in the last of these so many meetings that have occurred here. And thanks everyone for your forbearance and support and flexibility as we've gone through this move. The feedback I've gotten so far is overwhelmingly positive, but as we all know, change is difficult, and it comes with some need for us to stretch ourselves and grow. And I just appreciate everyone's participation in that. I do think, based on my early experiences at 909 Davis, I think it's going to be a great thing for the city and a great thing for the downtown. And I look forward to working with everyone here, over there, at our first meeting there, which will be on the evening of April 14th. I can't stop myself from sharing this little tidbit. I was doing a little bit of historical Googling for a non-governmental reason, and I stumbled upon an old issue of the Daily Northwestern that had the following passage about then City Council candidate Elizabeth Tisdall in the 2005 election. The passage was, Tisdall supports selling the building at 2100 Ridge Avenue and moving the site to an area in need of economic growth, which is accessible by public transportation. She would like the new building to be environmentally friendly and energy efficient. And so, in the spirit of time being a flat circle, let us continue our meeting. I have two proclamations this evening. The first is for National Library Week. We have with us the president and secretary of the library board, Tracy Fultz, and Esther Wallen. Thank you so much for joining us. And the proclamation goes as follows. Whereas Evanston Public Library has been a foundation of connecting, learning, community engagement, and the sharing of knowledge since 1873. And whereas Evanston Public Library serves as a beacon of enlightenment, providing access to resources that promote and further literacy, education, and lifelong learning for individuals of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas Evanston Public Library empowers people to explore new ideas, discover their passions, and engage with diverse perspectives that enrich our society. And whereas National Library Week provides an opportunity to celebrate the valuable services that libraries offer, acknowledge the dedication of library staff, and raise awareness about the importance of libraries in our communities. And whereas we recognize the continued need for support and funding to ensure that libraries remain accessible, inclusive, and equipped to meet the ever-changing needs of the public, now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim the week of April 6th through April 12th as National Library Week in our community, and encourage all residents to visit their local library in person or online, but especially in person, and recognize the invaluable role libraries play in fostering a culture of belonging, learning, and connection. And before anyone claps, I just want to say thank you to the library board, to Yolande and her team. It is really in a time of division and a fraught moment, as unifying an institution as exists in this town. That's not a coincidence. That's because of the kind of values that you bring and the kind of facility that you oversee. And we appreciate it greatly. It does not go unnoticed. So thank you so much to both Tracy and Esther and the whole library team.
Picture. Mayor Biss, you gonna go?
three. I'm going to take a couple. Thank you. Now we'll come in for your bits.
Great. Can you guys look at me for a second? Why don't you get together a little bit?
And the second proclamation this evening is declaring April Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month. And I want to thank Judy and the group that have been really terrific advocates on this issue, helping bring awareness not only up here, but across the city government and across the community. So thank you very much for your advocacy on a really important issue that affects so many community members. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States. And whereas Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million Americans, and the prevalence will more than double by 2040 with 90,000 new cases diagnosed each year in the United States. And whereas Parkinson's disease is the fastest growing neurological disease in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and whereas it is estimated that the economic burden of Parkinson's disease is at least $51.9 billion annually, with $25.4 billion attributable to direct medical costs, such as hospitalizations and medication, and $26.5 billion in non-medical costs like missed work, lost wages, early forced retirement, and family caregiver time. And whereas research suggests the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown, and whereas there is no cure or drug to slow or halt the progression of the disease, and whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment and dementia, mood disorders, and a variety of other non-motor symptoms, and whereas volunteers, researchers, caregivers, and medical professionals are working to improve the quality of life of persons living with Parkinson's disease and their families, and whereas increased research, education, and community support services such as those provided by the Davis Finney Foundation, Michael J. Fox Foundation, Parkinson's Foundation, the Evanston Movers and Shakers Support Group, and other organizations are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide access to quality care to those living with the disease today. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in the city of Evanston. And once again, thank you for all your work to make sure that the community is aware not only of the existence of the disease, but of resources and supports. And we really, really appreciate what you do. Thank you.
And if everyone can move over here for me. 1, 2, and.
I'm gonna try something a little different. Just don't move. I'm gonna take a bunch of pictures.
This concludes my announcements. The next item on the agenda is the city manager's public announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Clerk Mendoza. I just wanted to take a couple of moments to acknowledge the city staff's hard work and extra efforts in our move to 909 Davis Street. We have not moved City Hall in 46 years, and there are many challenges and logistics that need to be coordinated. There are too many employees to thank individually, but a special thank you to our facilities division, IT division, Public Works, Public Services Bureau, and the city clerk's office. I believe at last count, approximately 300 boxes of records were prepared for digitizing as part of the move, which will pay dividends for many years to come. Next up, Director Thompson will provide a brief update on the Robert Crown ice sheets. I also want to thank Director Thompson, her team, many city staff and facilities, and other teams for their extraordinary efforts to get the ice operations back up and running as quickly and safely as possible. Director Thompson.
Thanks, City Manager Stoll. Again, Director Audrey Thompson, Parks and Recreation Department. It's been a rough several weeks for Robert Crown and our community members who really missed being at Robert Crown. Just for ice skating, hockey, figure skating, you name it, just the camaraderie that happens at Robert Crown. So not having the ice for several weeks has been really challenging. I also would like to, I think it's a facilities night, so I'd also like to thank facilities, our fleet and facilities management team for really being there with our Robert Crown staff. They have worked around the clock. If you don't know what it takes to get a sheet of ice back up and running, it is a week-long process. That is a lot of hand painting. So all of the ice that you see, it's literally that sheet of ice is painted white. There are over 120 sprays of water that goes on the ice, and that E that's in the middle, again, that's hand painted. There are 5 logos on our ice rink, and we're literally talking about 5 days of staff working around the clock in order to make sure that the thin mist of ice that you have to put on 120 floods happens 1 every 10 to 15 minutes. So it is a long process, but our staff has been really diligent, and we're back up and running. On Sunday, just yesterday, we had 102 people who came for a public skate, even though they found out pretty late in the week that we were having public skate. Our second sheet of ice, when all goes well, I won't say if, when all goes well, will be up and operational on Saturday. So we will be back in full operations this Saturday. So thank you all for your calls, your text messages. Our city council just making sure that staff was available and ready to work, and that we also had the support that we needed. So thank you all for that.
Councilmember Burns?
And I'm sorry, you may have mentioned this already, but it's probably worth mentioning twice, even if you did. But do you think we've lost, we had, contracts and in place and different concessions we had to make in order to maintain those relationships. Do we think all of that will return? Obviously, there's a loss, and we're seeking, we're dealing with that in a way I won't get into now. But in terms of moving forward, do you think everybody that was hosting, hockey and figure skating tournaments there will return?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Robert Crown is the place to be.
Yeah. All
across the North Shore. People have been going miles around, and they are eagerly waiting for us to be back in operations. We also treat them well, and they treat us well. And so we're looking forward for them to come back, and have not heard of anyone who will leave. So no, we don't have any issues with our vendors and our contracts coming back to Robert Crown.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on that. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes my remarks.
The next item on the agenda is communications from the city clerk.
Yes, I did forward quite a few email public comments. You have those and some in support of the project on Washington. I did want to take a minute to talk about my recent trip to Taiwan. I know, thank you, Alex, for covering that, and a few of you. But I just wanted to take a minute to, first of all, thank the the General Director, Lee of TACO, and to highlight a little bit of why we went. And I think I'm actually really excited of why we went. And the TACO office here in Chicago decided to invest in the professional development of myself and some staff here for the city. And they actually had hoped that they could help invest in the professional development of a few other staff members. One of the wonderful things about visiting Taiwan was to understand how sustainability works in another country. And I know sometimes when we think about sustainability in Evanston, we think about emissions from buildings. But in other countries, they're thinking about sustainability in the way that we provide city services, even from a customer service perspective, to incorporating things like AI to be able to respond to our community members, and how to provide government services in a more sufficient and sustainable way. So that's why we were there. And it was also an opportunity for the TACO office for the city of Evanston to be immersed and to understand about our growing Asian community and Asian culture here in Evanston. And it is very important to some embassies and people from around the world that we understand how to serve our growing communities and populations here in Evanston. And we were able to learn a lot about our Asian community, which, as you see up here from this dais, there is no Asian representation. And we actually have one of our appointed officials in our office who is of Asian descent, and the office in TACO decided that was a really wonderful thing to have an appointed Taiwanese elected representative, and they wanted my office and other people in the city to learn more about their culture. So I really do want to thank the TACO office, and I do want to, thank those who covered the trip, the opportunity to let you know about the clerk's office responsibilities and where our limitations are for the city of Evanston, and how we prepare to be on this trip. And if anybody wants to further inquire about the professional development of myself and my staff members, feel free to email me. I really appreciate the opportunity to respond to those inquiries while I was gone. Thank you.
Councilmember Reed.
Thank you, Clerk Mendoza, for sharing that. You mentioned TACO. What is that?
It is the Taipei Economic and Cultural Development Office.
Oh, thank you for that. And did you say that they paid for the trip?
Yeah, they paid for me to go, and it was a cultural immersion opportunity and educational opportunity for myself, and the city made a minimal investment for our staff members to go.
Is this on the bills list today? Is that why it's being brought up? Or?
No, it's not on the bills list, actually. I'm just bringing it up because we usually don't inquire about the professional development of other staff members or of any of the other professional development opportunities that people have taken, but we did inquire when I went on this trip.
Thank you very much.
This brings us to public comment. Tonight, in recognition of my the unlikeliness that I would be able to perform arithmetic correctly, there are under 15 people here, so everyone gets 3 minutes. We begin, as always, with those who signed up in person to speak in person, beginning with Pamela Powell-Rosenbusch, who will be followed by William Carter, and then Cynthia Beebe.
I think they left.
I think that seems right. So in that, if Pamela Powell-Rosenbusch is no longer here, we'll move forward with Mr. Carter, who will be followed by Cynthia Beebe and then Chelsea Elward.
Good evening. A man dies, gets to heaven. St. Peter says it shows here, you're a politician. We have a special program for you guys. The man says, the politician is told, you spend one day in heaven, one day in hell. You decide where you're going to be. Heaven is boring, quiet, peaceful. When he gets down to hell, he sees beautiful beaches, 5-star hotel, golf courses, places to have a wonderful, wonderful time. Gets back up to St. Peter. St. Peter says, where are you going to be for eternity? The man says, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to hell. So he gets down to hell, and there's fire and brimstone and screaming and everything. And he asks the devil, what happened to everything I saw yesterday? The devil said, yesterday we were campaigning. Today you voted. We voted for everybody who holds office, seems like it. And I watch you people up there for over a year. When someone is speaking, I've watched 2 people giggle back and forth like little school children. I've seen others not even show up for public speaking. I just watched a meeting where people spoke. They put their hearts out there. Then I watched another person come up, and the city embraced him. Totally disregarded what the people of the city wanted, but this person who wants to build, he's embraced. The people of Evanston are not listened to. They're not taken into account. And the people up there need to be switched out to somebody who will pay attention to the people of Evanston. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Cynthia Beebe, who will be followed by Chelsea Elward and then Tom Doyle. And again, I think Ms. Beebe also went home. So in that case, the next speaker is Chelsea Elward, who will be followed by Tom Doyle and then Beth Cerny.
That's you.
Hi, okay, I'm Chelsea Elward. I went to Oakton Elementary School, Nichols, ETHS. I'm here, okay. My neighbors are like, just read what you wrote. I went to Alderman Juan over 2 years ago asking, I saw the sign at 1222 Washington Street, which is across the street from me. And I'm like, okay, I've lived in the 9th Ward since I was, for 30 plus years. I knew that no developer was gonna buy this land. I just knew it and I knew a family wasn't gonna buy a piece of land for $200,000 to put a home on it when there's some things on our block that should be discussed. Like the impervious, that's a new word I just learned, impervious area on our block. Where's the rain going? Okay, I'm going to read. Juan did respond to me saying the city was not interested in buying the lot for me and our neighbors to make a community garden for the Rice Center kids who are institutionalized. I know you guys all know who the Rice Center kids are, right? I keep on hounding this point because I was institutionalized myself when I was a minor. It sucks. I don't know if any of you guys have been locked up. I was in whatever. I'm going to read what the director, Elisa Garcia, and the CEO approved of me reading. They're totally on board with me making a magical, gorgeous garden in this little plot. This building houses a residential trauma treatment program for up to 39 youth in foster care between the ages of 6 to 17. The youth will reside here to have experience. They live there, they have complex trauma, and they are referred for residential treatment by DCFS because their needs cannot currently be met in the home environments available to them. The building also houses a education center, which is operated by District 65. A community garden on the block could be a powerful way to support the programs housed at 1101 Washington, the Rice Center, and to connect the young people there with us on the block. I am privileged enough to have a porch, and I read a lot on my porch, and I know exactly the kids that are walking down. I know where their brains are. They need to just get away from where they live. Over the summer, we were invited by Garcia to go inside and see where they sleep and where they live, where they eat, and it's heartbreaking. And I can't say this enough. Like, if you haven't actually been in an institution where it's not, I was a minor, so it wasn't locked, just like, okay. I don't know what else to say. It's that I didn't want just a green space. I don't half-ass anything. I will make it legit, and I don't think.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The next speaker is Tom Doyle, who will be followed by Beth Cerny, and then Joe Civiello.
Is it okay if I ask a question of the council members just for a show of hands? Is that legitimate?
You can do whatever you want at the time that we typically don't
Okay,
respond.
quick question. How many of the council members that are voting on this tonight have actually been to the block and looked at the site and the block? Just a show of hands if you've been there. Great. So 3 of you have been there. I appreciate that you showed up. Okay. Here's what I'll read. Please look before we leap. Ordinance 27025 is important. Well, and I'm talking to you too. I am Tom Doyle. We've had a lot of communications, never met. It is important because it provides choice between 2 very different opportunities, which each provide some benefit to the community. Choice number 1, there's an opportunity to convert this small lot into another residential property, benefiting 2 or 3 people, maybe 4. Choice number 2, there's an opportunity to preserve this small lot as an urban green space, which it currently is, benefiting 39 children who are suffering every single day at the Lydia home, they say they're not locked up, but they cannot get out of that place. It is locked, but the doors are protected. Almost every single homeowner every single homeowner would like to do something for the people on our block. These are our residents. These 39 kids are our neighbors. They're children that live with us, but they have no outlet to connect with the community. Let me go on. What we're asking is time. We have not been given time in this process. We were surprised by this process. But when it comes to affordable housing, we're mixing this whole thing up. Affordable housing, here's a proposal right now before the city. There's a request for proposal, 2467, which is the lot at Emerson and Jackson Street. And the city puts forth a proposal asking for community input because it's important. Affordable housing is thoughtful. There was nothing like this done for this project. We want the same respect. I got 53 seconds left. You're all familiar, I'm sure you're familiar with the project at Emerson and Jackson Street. They've got 7 residential lots ready to put a house on at this very moment if you wanted to. All right? So my 37 seconds. Every good builder knows the basic rule to measure twice and cut once. I don't know if you had an opportunity to visit. We've discussed that. Pushing through a project that is not popular with the local residents, which has not been subject to a meaningful review, which is requested in this proposal, seems to be a violation of every principle that our community holds so dear, especially on the eve of an important city election. There's no urgency to do this tonight. There's no timeline to keep. Here's the project that's on McDaniel right now. This project was put there on September 2nd. At this point in time, there's garbage in there. It's not being built. It's a mess, okay? There's no urgency. So I'm asking you, please vote no tonight, and let's review this after the election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Beth Cerny, who will be
Mayor Biss,
followed by Joe Civiello, and then Jenny Washburn.
Some of the other people who are up here early already have them.
Good evening, Mayor Biss, council members, and city staff. Thank you for listening. We are one day away from the Evanston elections, and regardless of how people vote, the one thing we all have in common is our love for Evanston and the blocks we live on. I'm sure every one of you loves your block and knows your block better than any of us in this room, just like my neighbors and I know about our block better than anyone else in this room. And we all know sometimes what looks good on paper isn't. The neighbors on the block of 1200 Washington Street are asking you to postpone the decision for the city manager to negotiate a sale contract for city-owned real estate property located at 1222 Washington Street to Evanston Township High School. We ask that the newly formed Urban Design Committee review the city-owned property and determine what would be most beneficial to the block's residents. There are around 15 mature trees on the city-owned property, and the residents of the block think the community should keep the trees and turn it into an educational urban pollinating park for the use of the 39 kids that live in the Lydia Center, as well as the 150 plus kids that attend Pope John and St. Nicholas on our block. This would give the residents of our block a place to connect and mentor kids who have complex trauma and could use a place to breathe. It would be a win-win for the kids at the Lydia Center, a block that already lacks a healthy tree canopy, and the city that also wants to keep trees in Evanston yards. We ask for respect and consideration to have objective input from the Urban Design Committee on what's best for our block. We have also contacted Ingrid Eckersberg's office to have stormwater management review if putting another structure on the south side of Washington will create more stormwater drainage issues for our block. The south side of Washington Street is already at 80% impervious surface due to St. Nicholas, Pope John, a preschool, and their parking lots. We ask for respect and consideration to ensure another home doesn't add to our standing water issues on our block. Lastly, since February, we have had an open invitation to 9th Ward Alderman Harry Carey and Director of Community Development Sarah Flax to meet with us on our block to see our concerns and ideas firsthand. Alderman Harry Carey and Sarah have finally accepted our invitation, and they are meeting us on our block on Wednesday, April 2nd at 1 p.m. On this Wednesday, April 2nd, to see our concerns and ideas firsthand. Please wait for that meeting before making a decision. Respectfully, the 1200 block of Washington Street owners, which are Beth Cerny and Joe Cirillo, Tom and Diane Doyle, Cheryl and Clay Henley, Jeff and Jan Berkson, Heather and Matt Miller, Chelsea and Neil Elward, Steve Kajen, and Julie Russell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Joe Cirillo, who will be followed by Jenny Washburn and then Ray Friedman.
Hi, good evening. So to reiterate, here is a written statement from the Director of Residential Services of Lydia Home, Elisa Garcia. As was mentioned, Lydia Home Association, a nonprofit social service agency, owns 1101 Washington. Before Lydia Home, the building was owned and operated by Children's Home and Aid. A community garden on the block could be a powerful way to support the programs housed at 1101 Washington and to connect the young people served there with their neighbors and with the children and adults who attend St. Nicholas Church and the daycare program and school run by the parish. This is her words. I would very much like to meet with this group of people and any other neighbors who are interested in further pursuing this conversation. We could try to find a time Dr. Anderson is available if that would be beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Jenny Washburn, who will be followed by Ray Friedman and then Stella Valavanis.
Hi, everyone. Jenny Washburn, First Ward. First of all, I was surprised to hear about the Taiwan trip. My uncle was actually the first U.S. ambassador to travel to Taiwan in 40 years, and they're not really known for sustainability. I mean, if you were there to talk about trade routes or undersea cables, that would be one thing. Maybe we can talk more about that later. I'll look into it. I am here because I have not gotten a response from you, Mayor Biss, on the petition that we have put forth. Over 360 people have signed the petition to reconfirm Commissioner Hellick for a second term on the Land Use Commission. As you know, his work in Envision Evanston 2024 or 2045 has been integral. He has not worked now for over a week and a half because you have not reconfirmed him. So we are asking you to please respond to our petition. It has been weeks now. All we are asking for is a response. Someone so integral and to this important work should not be dismissed at this critical time, and we fear that you are holding off on this renomination until after the election, when you can put someone in who will pass through the things that you want to get passed. So please, again, respond to our petition. That's all we ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ray Friedman, who will be followed by Stella Valavanis.
Good evening, everyone. I can't believe that it's our last night here in this building without much discussion from the residents or a vote from the residents if we do want to move to 909 Davis or not. It's strange to me. And after we were in violation of the Open Meetings Act, just voting on 909 Davis. It seems to me we have several issues here beside 909 Davis. Somebody had mentioned about the houses on Jackson and Emerson and being torn down and the space being empty for, 3 years, I think? Bought and knocked down the houses and like 40 healthy trees. Don't get it. I talked to Bobby about bringing up an ordinance to require all city council members to respond to public comment. I talked about it like 3-4 years ago and nothing ever happened. Bobby said that some cities do require that they respond to public comment. Like the first person who spoke said, we feel like we're not listened to, we're not heard. Nobody responds sometimes. You know, there are people out, you know, having dinner or whatever. I want to say tomorrow's election, there's a lot of articles out there. And the roundtable, what's his name? Wrong page, sorry. Roundtable, Larry Gavin. He did extensive research on Evanston 2045. It's an editorial. And he did this research and it's excellent. So I just want to say thank you to a bunch of people who have commented either on Canal Posts or on Roundtable, wherever. So I want to say thanks to Larry Gavin, first of all. Paul Breslin, he also did a bunch of research. And if you can find the article, Paul Breslin, Ray Boyer, Alf McConnell, of course, Mary Rosinski, Lori Keenan, Gail Schechter. All these people have made very, I think, poignant comments about Evanston, what we need, what we should have, where our money's going, why we're spending $37.5 million on renting a property when we could have bought it for $10 million less than what we're going to wind up spending for rent. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. The residents need to know where their tax dollars are going, and they need to have a voice and a choice on where our money's going. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Stel Valavanis, who I believe left as well. This concludes those who signed up in person to speak in person. So we now move, as always, to those who signed up online to speak in person. Mary Rosinski.
Good evening. Thank you all very much. I just really like it when there's a predictable process that we all read and know that's going to happen, and then it is followed. And I think that the city's gotten off track on many, many things over the years, and I don't know why that happens. But there's a question I'm here for. There's two questions. One is the Envision 24. I'm going to keep asking this question till I get an answer. And that is, we were set in 2022, August of 2022. We have the FOIA that said there was a resolution to hire Tesca. We had gone for a comprehensive plan. We had taken the strategic plan out of the process, and we were just going to do a comprehensive plan. Then in September, Sarah Flax went to the Land Use Commission and said, we're going to go in a different direction. But she had not yet talked to City Council, and you all gave her the direction in 2021 to do a comprehensive plan and a strategic plan. Then in 2023, Sarah, 6 months after she talked to the LUC, went to you all, and you didn't know this because she only told you half the truth, and that is, hey, the RFP wasn't successful. She didn't tell you that you had already gone through interviews with 3 respondents, that you had finished the second interviews, that a resolution had been drawn to hire Tesca. So you didn't know any better, and you didn't ask any questions. I don't know if you thought there just was no respondents. And then we go through another RFP that lasts a couple months, and then we hire a company that's totally incompetent. We pay them $750,000, and then we have to fire them because the product is so substandard. And we're talking about our vision. And I'm just saying, I don't think we followed the right process. I think we brought HDR in so that they would hire ZoneCo, so they would steamroll our zoning. And I think we need to stop this process. But I'm hoping whoever is here, as we go through this, will look at that process. And I want to know why staff thought they had the right to circumvent a decision that you all had made a year and a half earlier without discussing it with you. That's my first thing. The second thing is 1222. Washington has just been sitting on wrong. I have yet to see a survey. And we do have, that's an R3 zoning area, and you're supposed to have 5,000 square foot lots. Again, why did we create a substandard lot? Because that lot is only 4,700 square feet. And I haven't seen the survey. I see the PIN number. I don't know what it is, but I did do the measurements and I was told that it was 47, whatever. I think that again, what's the process that our staff creates substandard lots in an R3 area that's supposed to be 5,000 square feet. So those are just the first 2. Over the next couple of months, we'll talk more.
Thank you very much. This concludes the in-person portion of this evening's public comment. Moving on with the Zoom comment, Michelle Klebeck.
Hello, this is Michelle Quebec, First Ward. I'm here today to ask for an update on Mr. George Halleck's request for a reappointment to the Land Use Commission. As a dedicated member of this important body, Mr. Halleck has demonstrated professionalism, thoughtful decision-making, and a strong commitment to the well-being for our community. His experience and expertise continue to be vital assets in guiding the city's land use policies and development decisions. I understand that in the name of equity and fairness, there may be considerations to give others the opportunity to serve on the commission. It is also worth noting that in September 2023, Mayor Daniel Biss reappointed 3 Land Use Commission members whose terms were expiring, ensuring continuity during significant projects like the Ryan Field proposal. I firmly believe that renewing Mr. Halleck's term would allow us to maintain the valuable continuity of leadership that the commission needs, especially in the middle of the critically important Division Evanston Comprehensive Plan Review. Additionally, I would like to ask why there's no vacancy posted on the commission's board. Could the absence of a vacancy suggest that there's been no formal search for a new candidate? Over 360 residents, myself included, have signed the petition advocating for Mr. Halleck's reappointment. This level of community support is a testament to the positive impact he has had on the Land Use Commission and the confidence that we place in his ability to continue serving our city effectively. Please renew Mr. Halleck for a second term. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment for the evening. We now move on to the consent agenda. I know that items A15, 16, and 17 need to be removed for possible rule suspension to allow for introduction and action. Are there other items that folks would like to see removed from the consent agenda?
A2, please.
A2. So if anything besides items A2, A15, A16, and A17? Oh, I'm sorry. Would the clerk please add Councilmember Nguyen to the roll? I would entertain a motion in that case.
I move approval of the consent agenda minus A15, A16, and A17.
And A2 maybe?
And A2.
Councilmember Reed moves approval of the consent agenda with the exception of the following items: A2, A15, A16, A17. Councilmember Newsmith seconds.
Point of order, Councilmember Cutters.
Yeah. Councilmember Hedekaitis moves approval of the consent agenda with the exception of the following items: A2, A15, A16, A17. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Thank you for the correction. My apologies. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin, Councilmember Nguyen. Oh, sorry, I need some sleep too, not just you. Councilmember Ravel. Aye. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekaitis.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Aye. Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and the consent agenda with the 4 exceptions previously enumerated is passed. Now on item A2, Councilmember Nusma, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move item A2, approval of the BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity in the amount of $13,484.58.
Second.
Councilmember Nusma moves approval of the BMO Harris credit card activity just enumerated. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Ravel. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekaitis.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Aye. Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
With 7 voting in favor, none voting against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries and the credit card activity is approved. Now on item A15, Councilmember Burns, would you care to make a motion to suspend the rules? Oh, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Burns moved to suspend Rule 20.2, I think, to allow Ordinance 26-0-25 to be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Councilmember Newsom seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Ravel. Councilmember Reed. Councilmember Hedekaitis.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Aye. Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion receives the required unanimous vote and passes. The rules are suspended, and so this ordinance may now be introduced and acted upon in one evening. Councilmember Burns, do you care to make that motion? Or Councilmember Newsma?
Mr. Mayor, I move item A15, which is ordinance 26-025, amending the city code section 101118, residence parking only districts, and I move this for introduction and action.
Councilmember Newsom moves final passage of ordinance 26-0-25, both introduction and action happening simultaneously. Councilmember Nguyen seconds. Is there any discussion? Councilmember, we'll go with Councilmember Reed when he's back at his seat.
Sorry, my agenda, and it seems like a number of the agendas are missing some pages. I'm going to support this item today, even though well, maybe I'm not going to support it, but I think it's going to get support today and it's going to pass. But I think there are some improvements we could have made to this. I think maybe doing every Saturday just to create some kind of consistency so folks know that this is happening. So
Point of order, Councilmember Reed. This is item A15, which is a residence.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard
district.
A18, which is the parking. My apologies.
So I think you.
So then I'm good. Thank you.
Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Ravel. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekaitis.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
With 8 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries and ordinance 26-0-25 is passed. Councilmember Hedekaitis, do you have a rule suspension motion relative to item A16?
I move the suspension of the rules to allow for introduction and action for A16, ordinance 27-025, authorizing the city manager to negotiate the sale contract of city-owned real property located at 1222 Washington Street to Evanston Township High School District 202.
Second.
Councilmember Hadakatis moves suspension of Rule 20-2 so that Ordinance 27-0-25 may be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Councilmember Newsome seconds. Councilmember Ravel, are you speaking to the rule suspension?
Yes, I am.
Councilmember Ravel.
I'm just wondering, given that the residents are meeting with you not till Wednesday, could you explain a little bit more about why we need to act on this evening?
Well, this is to meet the schedule that ETHS has to meet the construction timeline. And so I've met actually twice with them already. Once we had a Zoom meeting with all of y'all. I had a meeting set up with Chelsea. That was Chelsea canceled. We met at the, yes.
So I'd like to request order in the chamber. Councilmember Hadakatis has the floor.
And we had a ward meeting where I spoke to a bunch of y'all that were there. And we're also meeting on Wednesday. So.
Councilmember Ravel, you have the floor.
Is there no leeway in the high school schedule to?
I'll have staff speak to that.
Okay.
I don't.
Good evening, members of the City Council. I'm Paul Zalmazak, Economic Development Manager. I'll speak to the timeline. There are noticing requirements, so to keep this on track with the high schools, and I'll ask Director Flax to back me up on this, to keep on track with their plans, and also to align with our City Council meeting dates and our publishing requirements. That's why we asked for this to be approved in one sitting. Otherwise, we're another 30 days because we have to notice it again. We'll miss out on the publishing requirements for the sale of city land. And then that will put the high school's schedule behind, and I'd have to have Sarah speak to that.
Good evening, Mayor Biss, City Council members. One of the other things is there is significant prep work. Utility lines have to be put in and things like that, the ETHS wants to be able to get in place before the foundation is poured. When we move houses, we generally move them as early in the summer as we can, but you have to have the utilities and the foundation poured, and it has to cure. So last year, we ended up moving in September due to a lot of different factors, including having to move the date for various reasons. But that really pushes the start time, because much of the work to complete the house is done by the school staff who supervise the finishing of the house, and that the summer is an important part for them to do that work as well.
Sorry to return. I just wanted to make just reinforce the Corporation Counsel Ruggie asked me to reinforce the fact that we would have to come back to council after we renotice it. And again, go through the same process again.
Thank you. I'll also add, this has overwhelming support from everyone other than the neighbors and a couple other people who are here. I personally think this is the best use for the lot. I don't see us stopping this process and going back and not putting a geometry and construction home there. And so and we have a Google Doc where people are voicing concerns. Staff has been answering those questions along with SEPA and the ETHS Geometry and Construction Program people.
Councilmember Newsome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been a concern raised about the trees on the property, and are we doing everything we can to protect the trees? Ms. Flax, could you address that, please? Noting that you shared an email with me earlier today, so I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be.
The siting and of they have, ETHS has not submitted its actual final plan for use of the site, but there will be every effort made to keep the trees, especially the ones that our forestry staff have identified as valuable trees. There are some trees that are not considered anywhere near as important as some of the others. Can they all be saved? I don't know for sure, but we will try to support, save as many as possible. And there's also going to be work, ETHS does this to expand landscaping and things after the house is sited and finished.
So our forestry staff has been out there to make this evaluation, or
Yes.
somebody
Yes.
trained
Uh-huh.
to identify
Yes.
trees and measure the trees?
They have.
Okay. And so from what you
There
showed
is a
me-
hackberry that's kind of the hardest one to figure out right now because it's kind of in the middle of the lot. So we'll have
and
to
that
see if
would
we
be a
can.
protected tree.
Well, that
It is a protected
desirable tree.
Right. Okay. But there might be a way to position the house to allow that tree to maintain,
It may be possible, but I don't know for sure.
thank you.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
There's also been discussions with Charles Smith from Jens Jensen Gardens and also Leslie Shad from Natural Habitat Evanston about doing landscaping at the site and potentially looping in sustainable landscaping into the geometry and construction process going forward. So, and we're in discussion with the high school about that.
So the motion in front of the council is the motion to suspend the rules. Would the clerk please take the roll on that motion?
Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Ravel. Aye. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
No.
Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
And Councilmember Burns is not here.
With 6 voting in favor and 1 voting against, the motion fails to receive the required unanimous vote and does not pass. So this item can only be introduced this evening. Councilmember Newsma, do you have a motion?
So, Mr. Mayor, I will move for introduction, ordinance 26025. No, sorry, that was the previous one. I move for introduction, ordinance 27025, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a sale contract for city-owned real property located at 1222 Washington Street.
Second.
Councilmember Newsma moves introduction of ordinance 27-0-25. Councilmember Hadakaris seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please take the roll?
Point of order. I don't want to question whether. I want to see if we can reintroduce the motion to suspend the rules.
There's a vote. We're in the middle of a vote at this time.
Okay.
Councilmember Ravel. Sorry. Aye. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen. Aye. Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
With 6 voting in favor and 1 voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 27-0-25 is introduced and will be on the agenda for action on April 14th.
Point of
Councilmember Reed.
order. I guess I'll look to my colleague from the second ward. Are maybe you willing to support this for introduction and action?
So I was trying to.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm struggling with it, and I have to be transparent. This was going to be in the second ward, and we had to make some revisions because of time. And so I struggle with it because it's a community saying that it's a problem. I am in favor of the house, and I think that if you're having a meeting Wednesday, I get it. I get it. The timing of this does not work. and I didn't realize my one vote would
Yeah,
hold this up.
yeah. So I will move to reconsider first I'll move to reconsider the vote we just took, and then I'll move to reconsider the suspension of the rules.
And I think, do I have to do that since I voted?
On the prevailing side has to do it.
Well, I don't think 6 prevails.
Oh, okay. In that case, yes, that is right.
And hold on, Council Ruggie. One question that I think is lurking beneath the hood of this procedural thicket is the question of whether a motion to suspend Rule 20.1 is renewable in the event that it fails. Because if the answer to that question is yes, there would not be a need to reconsider.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I don't think we need to reconsider. I'll let council, but.
Could you weigh in on this question, please?
Can we rewind and you ask again?
Okay, so here's what happened. There was a
Yes.
motion to suspend the rules. The motion failed. Then we moved forward, and we're in the midst of. I lost track. I think we just voted on introduction. There's now, I think, some second thoughts up here. So it's easy to make a motion to reconsider the introduction vote, and then the question is, could someone remove rule suspension, or would it instead be necessary to somehow do a motion to reconsider on the rule suspension that failed?
So the city council rules on reconsideration say any vote may be reconsidered. So I don't know if that it speaks that it can be motioned, but it says that any vote can be reconsidered. So that's what our rules specify.
If I may, I hear what you're saying. I don't think we need to reconsider the vote to suspend the rules because it's just a new vote to suspend the rules, and if it's unanimous, it's unanimous.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain types of motions that are non-renewable, but it's a rare thing.
Yeah.
I don't, unless it says that this is a non-renewable motion, by default, motions are renewable. Okay. In that case.
I'll move to reconsider the vote on the project itself.
Second.
Councilmember Reed, a member of the prevailing side, moves to reconsider no, this is the passage, not the rule suspension. So this is moves to Councilmember Reed, having voted on the prevailing side, moves to reconsider the introduction of ordinance 27-0-25, and I believe Councilmember Nusma seconded. Was that right?
Sorry to interrupt. Here's we passed it for introduction. Maybe we can just suspend the rules and pass it for action.
That'd be fine with me too.
Okay, so I move suspension of the rules to allow for introduction and passage on the same night.
Councilmember Reed moves to suspend Rule 20.1 so that Ordinance 27-0-25 may be passed on the same night that it was introduced. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Is there any further discussion on the rule suspension? Seeing none, would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin.
No.
Councilmember Ravel. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Heracariz.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
With 6 voting in favor, but a different 6, and 1 voting against, a different 1, because nothing is ever dull around here, the motion again fails to receive the required unanimous vote, and again, it is not possible for 27-0-25 to be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Good thing that no one went through with the reconsideration of the introduction. Let's move on to item A17. Councilmember Hedekadis, do you have a rule suspension motion here?
Yeah, I'll try this again. I move the suspension of the rules to allow for introduction and action on A17, ordinance 28-025, authorizing the city manager to sell city-owned real property at 2221 Keeney Street, Evanston, Illinois.
Second.
Councilmember Hedekadis moves suspension of Rule 20.1 so that Ordinance 28-0-25 may be introduced and acted upon in the same evening. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Ravel. Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Heracariz.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
With 7 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion does receive its required unanimous majority, and therefore the Rule 20-1 is suspended, and motion to introduce and act upon Ordinance 20-0-25 would be in order. Councilmember Nusma.
So, Mr. Mayor, I move for introduction and action this evening, Ordinance 28-025, authorizing the city manager to sell real property at 2221 Keeney Street.
Second.
Councilmember Newsom moves introduction and action of Ordinance 28-0-25. Councilmember Hedekade seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Suffredin, Councilmember Ravel, Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Councilmember Hedekade.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
With 7 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and Ordinance 28-0-25 is passed. This brings us to call of the wards. Councilmember Suffredin. Councilmember Ravel. Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, only report is it's our last time here. Some of my colleagues have spent much longer in this building, but I spent the last 8 years going on here, and so it's a bittersweet moment. I have not yet previewed. I think maybe I'm the only member of council who's not yet previewed the new space, and so I'm looking forward to walking in with fresh eyes. I also, tomorrow's election day was noted. I encourage folks to get out and vote and make their voices heard, and that's a key part of our democracy. So looking forward to the results there. And then lastly, we will have an 8th Ward meeting in the next few weeks. We'll send out a newsletter regarding that meeting. It will be the last ward meeting of this term, and looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Hedekade.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Harris.
We have a 2nd Ward meeting. It will only be virtual Tuesday, 6 p.m. That's it.
Tomorrow?
No, I'm sorry. Tuesday, April 8th. I'm sorry. Yeah, not tomorrow's my birthday. Thank you.
Happy birthday. Councilmember Nguyen.
This is the last time I can say this publicly. Please go out and vote. It's really important.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The April ward meeting will not be tomorrow evening, which would be its normal date. We will be meeting Tuesday, April 8th instead, 7 p.m. at McGaw YMCA. Note the change of venue from our usual location, which is Robert Crown. April office hours will be Saturday, April 12th, 10 a.m. to noon at Berry Pike Cafe on Davis Street. Also, I want to remind everybody that there is a community meeting for neighbors around Gray Park regarding the proposed dog park in that location. That is tomorrow, 6 p.m. at Robert Crown. And then on April 3rd, which is my birthday, Councilmember Harris, there is a meeting, a neighborhood meeting regarding the proposed development at 605 Davis Street. That meeting is in the library, I believe, in the upstairs room. So I will see everybody multiple times this week.
Before we adjourn, I think Clerk Mendoza has some commentary to add on the citywide celebration of Councilmember Harris's birthday.
So we will celebrate your birthday longer than election day. Just as a reminder, for election day, polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. The clerk is here at the Civic Center. You cannot drop off your ballot. We had that issue a lot during the presidential election. You need to take your ballot to a USPS location, or you can take it to your assigned polling place and turn it in and vote in person. Those are your only 2 options. The polls for early voting are now closed, so tomorrow is your last day to get out and vote. And if you are still having doubts of where you need to go vote, you can always call 311. And if they can answer the question for you, they will. If not, they'll transfer you over to the clerk's office. But thank you so much, and get out to vote.
And yeah, just want to urge everyone to make sure they vote and participate. Their voices are heard. We'll see y'all on April 14th in a different place on the other side. With nothing further to come before us, the March 31st, 2025 meeting of the Evanston City Council stands adjourned.